Hi,
Hello there.
Dr.
We're
Friends.
Dr. Friends.
Please subscribe, like, and also turn on notifications.
Hey, helpers.
Hey folks.
Thoughts on this hat?
Feels like I should have a cigarette too.
Like those classic pipes.
Oh, I got it right then. Today, let's look at some art with you guys.
Medical interpretation.
Right, today is Munch, the painter. The Scream is most famous, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he's
Exactly.
from Norway. He's an expressionist. Know what that means.
It's when a painter expresses their inner feelings in their art. Before that, we might think it's obvious now, but back then it was a very unfamiliar concept.
Right, Munch said. He doesn't paint what he sees, but what he saw. It might sound like a wordplay, but it truly defines expressionism. He painted how he saw things through his emotions, experiences, and memories. So when you look at Munch's paintings, you can see his life story in them.
You talked about emotions. Knowing one's mental state can offer new insights into their art.
Exactly. So today I want to talk about that aspect. Munch once said, "I inherited two of humanity's most fearful things, frailty and mental illness." In a way, he was one of the first famous people to openly...
He came out.
He acknowledged his mental illness and sought treatment. It's insightful from a psychiatrist's view. Here's the first painting, a self-portrait.
He looks frail and somewhat listless.
He seems to have lost weight, appearing unhealthy.
The skull.
Exactly.
I see a skull arm.
In my interpretation, the face isn't bone, only the arm is. It's like a picture where life and death coexist. Munch said, "I was born dying." He combined born and dying. He felt he was always accompanied by illness, madness, and death since birth. This arm bone signifies death, so life and death always coexist. This is the painting, The Sick Child. How do you see it, Dr. Nak Jun?
The girl lying down looks very pale and frail.
Yes, in bed.
It's a child, but adults, like myself, smile even if it's forced when caring for a child to give hope.
Exactly.
Here, they don't hide their despair, which makes me think the child is very sick, and it's a rather hopeless situation.
Right, Munch painted this at 22. In our 20s, we usually don't think about death since it's a healthy age.
Exactly. Then we only thought about moving forward with hope.
Yes, but Munch repeatedly painted these kinds of pictures. If you look into Munch's past, his mother died of tuberculosis at the age of 30 when Munch was 5, and his sister died of pulmonary tuberculosis when he was 13.
Tuberculosis.
Both from TB,
He
so
did.
young.
Dr. Chang Yun, it must have been hard to treat TB back then, right?
Yes, tuberculosis is one of the deadliest infectious diseases in history. We often see in movies when someone coughs up blood, that indicates tuberculosis. Before the drugs came out around the 1950s in Korea, the only treatments were isolation and supportive care, as there were no actual cures. And indeed,
There were no treatment options.
practiculosis, it shows many symptoms and can affect lungs, lymph nodes, pleura,
It spreads through
really
the
all
organs.
It can be very deadly, and even now, if treated, it's a disease where you have to take medication for a long time. So if you have a cough lasting more than 4 weeks, you should go to a hospital. We still recommend screenings because pulmonary tuberculosis is still a problem. It's a scary disease.
Back then, when medical science wasn't as advanced, it was an even more frightening disease, and Munch lost his dear mother and sister to it at a young age. Munch himself was also weak as a child, had to quit school, often had nightmares, and experienced the sorrow of losing family, along with the fear, anxiety that he might die too.
Ah, he felt fear.
Yes, those family deaths likely became a trauma, and he painted works inspired by them in his 20s. The next painting is called Evening on Karl Johan, painted in 1892 when Munch was 29, depicting Karl Johan Street in Oslo, Norway. The crowd approaches. What about their faces?
The dense crowd has faces that look skeletal, all alike.
They
Right.
seem expressionless. Where's Munch?
The one walking alone.
Ugh.
A wanderer going against the crowd, that's Munch. He painted his young self as unable to belong.
Okay.
He tried to innovate from the existing art style, but got harshly criticized, like with The Sick Child, saying it was carelessly painted. Even when invited to the Jomena Week, they were told to shut it down after receiving criticism.
After inviting him.
The media said it wasn't art and it insulted art. It's unbelievable.
He faced an unbelievable event.
Munch also said something. People passing by all looked at him with strange eyes, their faces pale in the evening light. His mind was blank, and he was breaking out in cold sweat.
His confession.
He kept notes, and although notes can't reveal everything, he often felt nervous exhaustion and dizziness. These symptoms, dizziness and cold sweat, suggest Munch might have had recurring panic attacks or some panic disorder, which often manifests in one's 20s.
The age fits.
Exactly. Famous work.
The scream.
I know.
Everyone knows.
It's amazing this emerged a year after that painting.
After that incident.
Yes. Usually after receiving such criticism, one might compromise or return to conservative styles, but he stayed true. Seppies emerged. Match let a note related to this. Of the year was setting. As the sun was setting, a sudden sadness overcame me, and the sky turned blood red.
So, that's why it's reddish.
I felt exhausted and leaned on the railing. Blood and fire covered the Jordan city with two friends here.
Those are
Friends, huh?
friends.
Seems like another.
I walked, but I was alone in fear, feeling a scream piercing through nature. Watching the sunset, we find
Right,
it
Norway.
beautiful.
Right.
Norway is said to have lovely nature and fjords,
It's beautiful.
but in the end, one would have felt such emotions. The face contorts, the body shudders, trembling in anxiety, exposing inner insecurities or fears. Initially, and something like a deadly fatigue, fear, sudden feeling of depression, the sunset feeling terrifying as if blood, perhaps a symptom of a panic attack.
A painting of a panic attack might feel like this.
It could be. Next, let's talk a bit about Munch's love. How does the painting look?
The breakup.
Right.
Clutch in the chest.
She's on a cloud.
Yes, it feels like she's leaving. This is separation, painted at 33, with a focus on clutching the chest.
The face looks bad.
The fingers have a blood red hue.
Heart removed.
Yes, taking out the heart. It looks almost heart-like, right? The hand is blood, suggesting a tearing heart.
Deeply in love.
Right. He fell for a married woman, Millie, at 22, but her feelings faded quickly. Munch continued to suffer mentally from this, and it was tough for him, but eventually Millie got divorced and remarried someone else.
Not him.
Paul?
It seems like the feelings of love turned into betrayal.
But if he painted it at 33,
For 10 years, he painted like this.
he was hurt alone.
Exactly. The painting on the right, it's called Vampire. How does it look?
This one,
The hair's red.
it's creepy.
Right?
Is the vampire a woman?
Yes. It seems like she's biting the neck, and the red hair is expressed almost like blood.
The bone person seems like Munch.
Yes, himself. The mental anguish from Millie's rejection. He struggled with futility and hostility toward women. He never married.
Never marrying.
Aye.
When was he hurt? Was he
So,
22?
at 22,
Who was Dr. Ojin, Sung's Millie?
who caused such a scar?
What do you think about this painting?
The left painting seems very confident, whereas here, the people in the back appear to be mocking him. He looks pale, slightly hunched. Not well, hands together, lacking confidence. Alcohol in front, not much food.
Right?
Hard to believe this was painted 2 years later.
I
Like
know.
40.
Exactly.
Face looks old.
Right. At this time, Munch had severe alcoholism and a lot of anxiety. He drank during the day, and if you look at his hands, they're clasped together, looking powerless and resigned, like he couldn't control his drinking. Even the waiters behind him seem ghostly.
Waiter's laughing.
Yes,
Feels
Just like
they're
they're
mocking.
mocking.
They look almost inhuman. The
Right.
faces.
So, in the end, Munch had excessive drinking and paranoia, feeling someone was constantly attacking him, leading him to violence. Eventually, he was hospitalized for 7 months in 1908 at Jacobsen Clinic in Copenhagen.
He showed his illness through his art.
Exactly.
How old was Munch when he passed away?
Interestingly, despite living with the fear of death since childhood, he passed away at the age of 80.
He lived long for
At the
that
time he
era.
lived long. Everyone he knew probably passed.
Exactly. So, despite having a troubled family history and being frail himself, he overcame these and lived through the fear of death and life, ultimately turning his inner conflicts into remarkable art. Among defense mechanisms, we know that mature ones include sublimation. I think he really sublimated his struggles into artistic works. Although we aren't art experts, Munch, who suffered from panic disorder, alcoholism, depression, and a lifelong fear of death, left masterpieces. We've looked at him through the medical lens of Dr. Friends.
Hope this helps.
We love you. Thank you. The video? Hold on. Why isn't this working? We're still awkward Dr. Friends. Please watch the subscribe video here, and there are more fun-related videos over here, so please check them out.
Subscribe button here.
Subscribe button. And watch the video. If you subscribe to us, you'll become healthier. So keep following Dr. Friends and keep watching. Bye.